Hi, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Sierra Smith. I'm a seven-figure Etsy optimization specialist, Etsy consultant, and business analyst who has had the privilege of scaling 200 plus Etsy shops with top clientele, making 2.6 million plus in revenue on the platform. And in this video, I have a very exciting topic for you all. It's one that so many people here are super interested in here on YouTube, and it's trends, just Etsy trends. And in this video, I'm going to be touching on Etsy trends to know, as well as actually how to find Etsy trends, which is actually a lot more valuable than just knowing the trends in this exact season or moment. So I'm going to be touching on trend analysis, how to actually approach it in the best data validated methodology for actually finding, again, validated trends on Etsy that are actually going to bring you in real sales. And it's no guesswork here. This is all data driven. My OptiShop framework that I use to scale these Etsy shops is data driven and target customer centric. And I dive very deep in different data strategies here on this channel. And that's what I do professionally. I stare at Etsy for 30 plus hours each week. My portfolio is down below. You can see the case studies. You can see the clients that I've worked on, different shops that I've worked on. And it's just been a very insightful and lucrative journey for the clients who have, again, made these seven figures on the platforms. It's just been a very exciting journey. And trend analysis can be a very important component of your Etsy success story, especially if you have a product mix that is a little bit more competitive, which is the case for print on demand. So the kind of the focal point of this video is going to be a bit more centered around like apparel and shirts. So first things first, I'm going to briefly touch on the actual trends to know for summer 2025. And then I'll also be diving into the actual trend analysis approach. So how to actually find those trends relevant to your market. So definitely stick around for that part. So just really briefly touching on the actual trends to know. And I did pull this, again, this is all data. I pulled actual data about recent listings. I pulled it for like recent listings listed in the last 1 month that are making lots and lots of sales. So lots of revenue. And these are shirts. These are pretty much shirt themes, and they're also design styles to know. So first things first, no surprise, it's 4th of July and Independence Day. Definitely try to get behind those trends if you can, but very vintage style aesthetics are really trending. So I would just say to kind of run some of those searches, 4th of July, Independence Day, finish it up with shirt, or however Etsy's elongating that search on Etsy search suggestions, and just see what those design styles are. But typically more kind of vintage style, boho, handwritten kind of sketch style. They perform like they've just been performing really well on Etsy, and they have for a while now. Just designs that are a bit more boho and don't just look as standard, don't look boring. Even I would say like a Western aesthetic is doing pretty well. Christmas in July is doing well. Back to school is already starting to trend. Teacher gifting and just teacher items tend to do really well in the summer because teachers, of course, they go back to school. They want to get their classrooms prepped. And so they tend to do pretty well in summer. So this is a perfect time to cater to teachers. Fall and Halloween prep is just, early momentum here. Summer vacation and travel themes, definitely, I would say cruise outfits and just kind of cruise geared queries are performing well. But to get even more specific, unfortunately, it's Disney World and Universal Studios that are really bringing in lots and lots of traffic and sales. So top sellers are very strategically optimized for Disney World, Universal Studios, and just incorporate popular culture characters. They do this very strategically, and it comes with risk. It does come with some risk that the listings are going to be deactivated. But as you've probably seen, if you've been on Etsy for a long time now, you'll know that Disney has stayed dominating print on demand realms for years and years, because many people come to Etsy for customized Disney pieces. They're going on a Disney World trip, they're going on a Universal Studios trip, they're going on any kind of trip that's like a family-oriented trip, and they come there to find items that would essentially allow them to represent that trip with their family. And another focal point that I was seeing is matching family shirts. So that's kind of some overlap there. Matching family shirts are they're selling really well. No surprise, because summer is pretty much like family vacation season. Next would be the Eras Tour merch. So this is Taylor Swift related. Taylor Swift apparel geared towards her and her fan base pretty much always performs well on Etsy, but especially if she's on a tour. So Eras Tour merch is selling really well. Again, you have to do this very strategically, but there are a lot of sellers who are optimized for Taylor Swift and Swiftie. Very strategically, I would do that research. I would run searches and just make sure, kind of see how they're doing it, and you can try to optimize for it. You can try to create designs that cater to it and just be very strategic with the actual text copy that you use in those listings. And, if you can't, even reaching out to these companies and seeing if they're going to give you the actual rights, whether, so that you don't necessarily have to like use inspired designs. That's kind of how people will approach it sometimes. And then Bluey references. This is popular for parents and kids, but Bluey is a popular kind of kids character, so that's doing really, really well. I would again say to run some searches and see what those designs are looking like, and then maybe try to create designs that also strategically can be optimized for Bluey. Next would be political tees. Political tees do pretty consistently sell well on Etsy, especially around like big campaign seasons, presidential campaigns especially. So in this case, I'm seeing lots of President Trump shirts. So that's both supporters and against. There are shirts that are catered to both of those customer bases, and they're just geared around President Trump. Outside of that, it would be viral TikTok sayings and trending quotes. You can't go wrong with that. There are always people who are trying to look for different plays on sayings that are trending. So if you're at all up to date with TikTok, or you need some motivation to watch some TikTok videos, just know that if you're able to pull some of those trending quotes out and sayings out, you can even start your queries on Etsy. Just type in TikTok, run that search, look at like the top ranking listings, look for bestsellers, and see what they're saying, and think about how you could maybe cater to that same customer base, create similarly designed, I guess you'd say similarly designed designs, but maybe with a different saying or different play on the saying. Now, to the design and style trends, this is pretty consistent for, I would say, months and months, even years and years. Retro trends, retro fonts and aesthetics. So 70s and 90s throwback, those tend to perform really, really well on Etsy, kind of slightly more of like a hippie aesthetic. So also boho colors, I would say pinks, browns, marigolds, sage, even like orange. Those do really, really well on Etsy. If it's like that aesthetic, does really well. Comfort colors, they're actually heavily searched and requested. That's just the comfort colors that the designs are printed on. So people actually will, include comfort colors in their search query. So that's how important it matters to certain customers. So maybe mention that as well in your listings when you do create the designs, if you're using those comfort colors blanks. Minimalistic and again, vintage style graphic tees, they're performing really, really well. I would definitely kind of gear in that direction. If I were to create print to demand designs, I would definitely stick in like the boho direction and or vintage style direction, which again kind of has that overlap with a bit of that Western influence that I had mentioned earlier. Funny sayings or sarcastic quotes. This is just a kind of, I would say, kind of a style trend just in itself. Moving towards a funny area, I always say that with print on demand is if you're going to do print on demand, funny sayings are going to get you a lot farther. Funny and sarcastic quotes slash sayings, even like adult humor, explicit humor that incorporates, curse words and whatnot, things you wouldn't see in a store, in your average retail store. Those typically will give you that edge because customers know they cannot get it anywhere else. It's going to make them laugh. It's going to make other people laugh. So definitely try to incorporate humor if you can. And then college town, sports team, and city pride themes are actually doing really well. When I touch on how to actually dive into this trend analysis for yourself, I would definitely say to look over those teams to an extent, or like those towns. I was seeing like Philadelphia was popping up a lot. I'm not super up to date with sports, or up to date at all with sports, to be honest with you. But I would definitely say like, if you're into sports or you're open to getting into sports, that tends to be a pretty lucrative market, especially seasonality. When it's football season, it's really big. Whatever season it is, kind of the leading teams tend to dominate more of the searches. This is especially true with like the Super Bowl. Just to briefly touch on those exact bestsellers in that space, there was vintage baseball tee, Phillies sweatshirt, Philly game day, and then listings mentioning major cities. So Philadelphia, Nashville, Austin performed well when tied to local pride, music, or sports culture. Now, as someone who loves data, we're actually going to move into the more exciting part of the video, which is how to actually do the trend analysis for yourself so that you can find the trends for your exact market and whatever product mix it is that you sell. So I typically approach this by going to Everbee. So that's everbee.io. I'm not sponsored by them. But I am a huge fan of their tool. There is a link down below if you are interested in trying it out for yourself. But Everbee.io is just the best product analytics tool for Etsy, in my humble opinion. That, in addition to Etsy.com itself, if you actually know how to kind of run through search queries and analyze the listings that are showing up on Etsy.com incognito mode. There's so much more I could say about that, but Everbee.io is the most tangible way to kind of approach this. So go to Everbee.io and then either create an account or sign in. So once you do sign in, it's really, really seamless. You go over here to this left-hand panel and you click into product analytics. So in the product analytics tab, that's when you're going to pretty much type in a query that is relevant to your market. So in this case, let's stick with shirt. So I'm going to type in shirt and then I run that search. So we see all the listings here. We see the default ordering is monthly revenue. So it's descending by monthly revenue, and that's what we want it to be at. So I'm going to click over here into listing age, and this is essentially going to be us setting up a filter. So at the top here on this right kind of side of the data, you click on filter and then listing age max. So you can kind of play around with this, but I'm just going to put in 1, and this is going to be a listing age max of 1 month. I would say up to 3 months can even be revealing of trends, but 1 month is especially going to kind of give you that idea of where the most kind of lucrative opportunities are. So this essentially, these are listings that were listed in the last month. This is showing us how much money they've made. And these are all shirts. So if you kind of expand it, we'll get a better feel for what exact listings we're seeing here, but we're seeing embroidered Zayden Riorson wing leader sweatshirt, bookish sweatshirt. I will say popular books do perform well on Etsy, but it's just kind of a matter of diving into those exact books and kind of understanding, I was like, those tropes and even like fandoms to cater to them effectively. But as you see here, that's been performing well. We see Comfort Colors, Family Universe Park. This is a Disney shirt, basically. Comfort Colors, You Look Like the 4th of July, Makes Me Want a Hot Dog, Philadelphia Baseball, Wizard of Oz, Broomstick Tee, custom embroidered Mimi sweatshirt with grandkids, personalized Tinkerbell baseball jersey. Then we see a Trump sweatshirt down here. So you kind of get a feel for these themes, and it's very, very tangible. And what I do is I export this exact page. So there's this button right here. You just click on export, and then you'll have that download sent to your email address. At that point, I am a big fan of just kind of using AI to really dive into the opportunities. You don't have to do this. You can dive into them yourself, but I do use ChatGPT Pro, and I just upload that spreadsheet into ChatGPT Pro, and I'll ask ChatGPT to analyze it for me and just to pull out the greatest trends and themes. And ChatGPT does a really, really good job, in my humble opinion. And you can ask ChatGPT all kinds of follow-up questions about the exact teams, exact themes, exact maybe like amusement parks. You can really ask it to get super specific, which characters bring in the most sales. It can do all of that for you. The other most data validated way to actually approach trend analysis is going into Etsy.com itself. And I am actually going to touch on this as well in this video. I want to offer both of these paths for you because they're both so high value when used together, and ideally when feeding all of that data into ChatGPT to just really math analyze it for you. But as always, you can also just do that for yourself. So I'm going to go into an incognito window, and this is really, really crucial so that Etsy does not use your past engagement behavior and search behavior to factor into the search results, because Etsy does do that. So as guests, we are now at Etsy.com in the incognito window, and I'll just be typing in shirt, or again, whatever you sell. You can get insights immediately just in terms of how Etsy is elongating your search. That can often be indicative of current trends as well. So we see they are elongating it in some interesting ways. I do have numbers that show up because I do have the Everbee and Sale Samurai Chrome extensions installed. I do highly recommend them again. But shirt, I'm going to type in shirt and I'm going to click on search, and then we're going to see what comes up. So to really get into the really high value trend analysis and revealing actual bestsellers, we're going to make this whole page bestsellers. So I'm going to click on all filters, and then I'm going to click onto star seller under Etsy's best and show results. And this is just kind of a great way to just make sure that the full search page is only best sellers. So you go up into the URL. I'm going to have to expand it out for you all to see. So up here we see is star seller. And we're going to go backspace on star and just type in best. And then it's going to only show us best sellers. And then you want to sort your search results by most recent, or instead of most relevant, newest. So that's going to basically ensure that so we see newest, we're clicking into that. It's going to make sure that the listings that you're seeing, of course, are all bestsellers, but then we're also sorting by the newest bestsellers. And we're going to want to take note of the listings that we are seeing. Typically, I'll skip over the ads, even though they can be revealing of trends as well. I just like to see which listings are organically selling really, really well and ranking really highly to get ideas. So design your own jersey. This is not a surprise. I was going to mention that typically to stand out. To actually go after a trend and actually to outsell your competitors, you have to stand out. And we do this. How I approach it is we call it a SWOT test and or gap analysis. This includes a value gap analysis where you are essentially defining what opportunities are being left open by competitors and deeply analyzing their customer reviews to understand where their needs are not currently being met, what their current pain points are, what their purchasing intents are, and then creating listings that better cater to their needs than any of your competitors and clearly communicate those unique selling propositions from search on Etsy. And that's kind of what I harp over here on this channel, is to really, really leverage the search facing perspective of your listings to advertise what makes your listings or products rather stand out from the existing competitors. And typically this is going to be in the form of customization and personalization. That is a huge competitive advantage on Etsy if you are able to offer that and offer it in a manner that exceeds your existing competitors. So typically that's more options, holistic, like just a very personalized design and experience. So in this case, we see that it's team name, it's color, it's the team, it's the number on it. Lots of different options there. It makes sense that this is a bestseller. We also see this listing is doing, best dad ever. That's not surprising considering we're right here at Father's Day. It's not surprising at all that this listing has sold well. But we also see from search, it's doing something that I typically recommend is text overlays on the cover photo to further communicate value that the photo itself is not already showing. Granted, they're already doing a good job showcasing the different designs, but we also see that they mentioned free Tumblr designs included. Tumblr seamless shop. I definitely think more can be done to define value points that customers care about, to actually just pulling that mass analyzing their own customer reviews and then defining what points make the most sense to actually communicate as those text overlays from search, and even to communicate visually on those cover photos and even in the listing video. But we see this design it's very, very cheap. So I would say it doesn't matter quite as much. It's $2. This is obviously a digital download. People are doing that work themselves. We see patriotic shirt. We see America flag shirt. So 4th of July, all of these designs, these three kind of are in that area. Scrolling down, we see a retro USA sweatshirt, a custom your own bootleg tee, custom here. They're using a text overlay strategically. Happy Father's Day, golf footprint design, very much so super personalized. They can write on that. Not surprising that that's performing really well. We see a custom Minnie Mouse Converse pair of shoes that includes the baby's name on it. And then we scroll down. We're seeing a bit of popular and culture influence in the sports realm. All these designs, I will say, do look very retro. Scrolling down a bit more, Silly Goose Kids t-shirt definitely looks like something that could be worn to Disney. Silly Goose on the Loose. That's cute. Almost a little humor in there. We see rainbow for his birthday, custom embroidered pet hat, subtle pro-choice, comfort colors hat that looks to have like flowers on it that could be personalized. Love is Love, Easy Bake Coven, 90s horror movie. And then we're seeing some more like retro inspired designs down here that are kind of geared towards Independence Day, so July 4th, and then dad's sports influence. So that gives you, and then we see a Chris Brown shirt. So again, when really popular celebrities are on tour, typically that's a great time to be trying to go after those tours. All very strategically, but that's always going to be an opportunity. When really big celebrities are on tour, making designs that cater to those concert goers is an opportunity. So I would approach all of this by I would click Command A on my keyboard, which is going to copy the entire contents of this first page, and I would paste that into ChatGPT as well. So I would give it the data from Everbee, and I would also give it this data right here from this first search page to just really dive deep into the actual trends that matter to Etsy customers. You can run a variety of searches. You can tailor it around different products that you offer. You can tailor it around maybe potential themes you want to explore yourself. Personalization, customization. You can tailor the search queries around those ideas, but ideally you do want to have all that, I would say all that information consolidated in one space. It's very, very actionable and you can move forward with actually creating designs. And again, ChatGPT Pro lists all that information out for you and allows you to get very specific. You can ask questions about the price points, how to be more competitive than the existing competitors, how to maybe explore different forms of personalization. And I would say once you've kind of decided on the kind of routes you want to go in with the exact trends, to click into those exact best-selling competitor listings that are essentially going to be your direct competitors, and to again copy the entire contents of that listing into ChatGPT. And I would say do it for about, I would say 8 of your direct competitors who are all bestsellers, to fully analyze that market, dive deep into their customer reviews, understand what they're doing right, and to define the opportunities that are being left open. So of course, when you're copying it, you're also going to be copying the variations. You're going to be copying the personalization box. You can even take screenshots or just download the listing images, especially the cover photos, and analyze those as well, all within ChatGPT Pro. Or as a human, you can do that yourself. So that's how I typically will approach trend analysis. I will say here at OptiShop Solutions, which is my LLC, my business, we do try to approach the product creation process in a manner that is not so trend centric. I will say trends can go really, really far, especially while your shop is new. And even when your shop has a lot of sales and it has a strong just presence overall, you can go after trends pretty successfully. But typically, if you want a very sustainable, long-term, thriving shop, it is best to try to create a product mix that caters to market gaps that are here to like stay on Etsy. So finding actual market gaps that are not centered to trends. So finding keyword opportunities with high search volume, low competition, and or other opportunities, whether that's like the personalization, the colors, customization, the sayings, whatever it is in your exact market. It could be like the wood types, the packaging, the gifting experience, the presentation itself. All these things could be opportunities. And that's typically how we will define a product mix, like a foundational product mix. Trends do have, they have their place. They can be very, very successful, but I would say the most sustainable way to actually scale an Etsy shop, and this is what we use for our 7-figure shops and what they've used, is to actually create products that consistently cater to customers. So you can always be introducing seasonal variations, trend-based variations, and that is what a lot of top shops do. With like gift boxes, all of a sudden you'll introduce a greeting card that's catered to the upcoming holiday, and that can work really, really well. But it's best to try to create listings that are going to kind of lead the market year round, if at all possible, and then just to introduce seasonal variations, and then ideally even like change that cover photo to reflect that seasonal variation, but always done very strategically. So again, I'm very data driven. You're going to have a lot of internal stats to use. Once you do have an Etsy shop, you're making sales, you're getting views. Use that data that you get within your own shop. That takes first priority over any of these other methods. You're going to get search queries. You're going to get data about click rate, return on ad spend, revenue, clicks, views. Use that data first. Use your own customer review data before you use competitors, before you even like use Everbee. If you have existing data to use, dive deep into your own keyword data. Go into your Etsy ad stats, go into your organic overall traffic stats, and again, copy and paste as much of that data as you possibly can into ChatGPT, or manually analyze it yourself and allow that to be indicative of the seasonal trends that are coming up, because you are going to start seeing those seasonal trends. You're going to start seeing trend insights, and you're just going to see the actual gaps in the market. If your listings are ranking for these keywords, they're being shown for these keywords, they're making sales for these keywords, that is your opportunity. That is typically it's just revealing a gap, some kind of gap in the market, that your listing is aligning with customer expectations. It's exceeding ideally the perceived value of the other competitors who are ranking side by side you in search. and it's just doing, your listings are doing something well. So really, really hone in on the listings that are already bringing in lots of sales, hone in on the keywords that are bringing in lots of views, lots of clicks, lots of revenue, and high return on ad spend. So that's gonna kind of how I'm gonna wrap this up, is just to prioritize your shop's own internal data. And that is what we do over here at Shop Solutions. And if you're looking for any hands-on help with your own shop, definitely just use the link down below. It's my contact link. Happy to hop on a call and learn more about your shop, your business, your vision, your journey, and we can kind of align on how I can maybe support that. My team and I, we are very, very comprehensive. We're going to dive deep into all your data for you, your market, your competitors, keyword analyses. So all that's going to be done for you, and we'll actually implement the changes. So that's SEO, visuals, pricing with your approval, sales strategies, scarcity tactics, any marketing strategies, Etsy ads management. We'll handle all of that on our end. So definitely do get into contact if you're interested in that kind of help. And if you are looking to do things more DIY, do it yourself, then grab my free list of 10 expert tips to optimize your Etsy shop for maximum visibility and sales. That link is down below, and it is free. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to be notified of future videos. And definitely go check out this video next here on the screen. This is how we increase Etsy orders by 523% in just 60 days from a 7-figure Etsy business analyst, aka myself. It was really, really nice to meet you, and I will see you all in the next one.